These are the kinds of Higurashi episodes that I really enjoy. Those episodes that keeps its head down, keeps the focus on things that may not be the most entertaining factors for a majority of people watching. But for those like me, really does serve a purpose of establishing the climax, establishing the end of the arc in being something that you feel like cannot fail, but then that other voice in your head saying, well, we're only halfway through this anime, how could they succeed? This episode did a great job at establishing the village, its culture, its history, the idea of why even they're not even able to see these workers anymore. They're pretty much denying them access, and the most they'll get is 3 people in, maybe even only 1 depending on the day. And the idea that the village that used to rise up, that honestly invokes some fear in me, I'm not gonna lie, you hurt one of their own, they rise up with an iron fist, and they're not ashamed to put you 6 feet under. So why is it that a little girl who's clearly being abused, whose teacher is saying she's being abused, whose entire city is saying she's being abused, why wouldn't those same people rise up to protect an abused girl? Well, those people not only are fearful of the old demon, who honestly lives up to that name if I'm being honest, but also those same government officials that now actually support not building that dam and things like that are the ones who are funding pretty much everything in this city. So you have government in their pockets, but also the fear of going against the old grandma who, because of the cultural histories, hating the family, a child born of sin, the child is now sinful. But a child is never sinful of their parents' sins. A child is innocent. So this was a very fascinating episode because it does put into perspective not only why these workers aren't taking it as seriously as they should at this point. Last week, it makes sense why they're being more cautious, but if they're saying a month's time and they're going to observe and more people are coming, at that point, realistically, they should be taking the initiative to go the step further. So why is it that they're acting so unrealistic? Well, when you have the village saying, don't worry about this, just do your own due diligence, do what you need to do, it's totally putting into perspective that Higurashi twist of a very realistic child abuse story, which obviously the author has first-hand experience in, but then twisting it with a Higurashi formula with the idea of the curse and clearly thinking that this girl is going to be the victim of it this year around. And why would you want to get involved with a cursed child? I've always been a big fan of the idea of like history and how people can't put water under the bridge, and the idea of someone who very much seems like a very old bitch. Simplest way to put it, we're not going to beat around the bush. Not only does she look like she's 150 years old, she thinks like 150 years old. She's throwing fits, she's acting like a child, she's saying this girl's horrible, you shouldn't be friends with her, they're doing their job, I don't give a damn, and she's a bitch. Simplest way to put it. I mean, granted, she did, thank them at the end of the episode saying, when I die, that kind of hate will go with me, and I'm glad to see that everyone else has moved past it, but you can't deny, not the nicest of people out there, but at the very least, didn't end in bloodshed, which I will honestly say, I wasn't expecting our boy to straight up say, if you don't support me, I will crack your head open and put your granddaughter as the next head of the family. And I'm like, this ends peacefully, I'm gonna be shocked. And it ended seemingly peacefully, and I'm like, holy shit, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a timeline where he put a hammer through this girl's head. It was just such an interesting episode that I feel like it may not get talked about as much because, 1, I don't know how it differs from the previous versions, but 2, it's not going to be as talked about as like, oh my god, Keiichi got killed, or oh my god, this brutal thing happened. But I think it's equally as important and interesting as all the shocking moments we've seen. To have a village that's so proud, to have a village that we've recently seen over the past month, rise up and say, you do not hurt one of our own, but so much cower and put their tail between their legs and not help an abused girl. Like, what is going on here? What makes them so pathetic? And when they reintroduced a cop who, in this arc, in this timeline, it feels like he's not a trustworthy person, but now they're roping us back in saying like, oh, is he actually supporting our boy again? Like, what's going on? This might be the most unnerving character because you never know if he's friend or foe. I don't know what he's done up until this point to piss him off, but now seemingly he's on his good side again. This cop is a curveball and a half, and honestly, at this point, you couldn't ask me if I think he's friend or foe. He could be either at this point or maybe even both depending on what happens next week. I like the idea of this episode for just really getting down to business and even having the teacher being like, if it was just my job on the line, I wouldn't care. And I firmly believe that. She seems very pure in that sense that she cares about her students. But the idea of going up against this village, like, it's something that's not going to end good for anyone, and they don't want to see, something like the school get shut down. It was already hard to get it established. But the idea of them all kind of banding together and the difference of old versus new mentalities and the idea of like, these youngsters, they're basically treating us like shit. They have potty mouths, they're just kind of assholes, but then they're throwing it right back. And I'm like, you know what? Everyone in this room's kind of an asshole. Let's just admit to that fact. Despite the age difference, we're all assholes here and we're all insulting the other, but we also know respect. And it's so fascinating to see the transition from them all pretty much attacking these characters to slowly starting to be like, well, that kind of makes sense. And I really did like Keiichi's speech in that moment because it felt like someone who's been a part of their village for 100 years. It felt like he knew the culture, he knew the identity, he knew what this village stands for. And the idea of him like breaking through to them and then piece by piece, voice by voice, they were able to start saying, you know what, I got no problem supporting this. And then the head of the council there was saying, you know what, I have no issues, but I can't go against this old hag. And I'm like, why are you fearing this old hag? And when she starts yelling at you, you kind of understand how she did make these people fearful. At the same time, you could probably trip her down the stairs and take care of it. But then again, I guess, we're not going violent right now, but still, it was interesting to see how they're able to portray why this council who, prides themselves in being so strong, and how the same people who now support us, we don't want to get on their bad side because what if they reintroduce the dam project, things like that. I like the idea of them like really not wanting to back down but slowly cracking because someone who's so new to their town speaks more true to their ideals than people who've been a part of it for generations now. And it's nice how they broke through to that, and then the transition to the more serious, like, holy shit, I honestly thought Grandma and Keiichi were about to go one-on-one, and honestly, I would have been surprised if she beat Keiichi and killed Keiichi because she had that ferocity going for her despite needing to take her meds. It was like, holy shit. And I think they did a great job at really kind of feeling like we broke through fate. We really did change it. And the idea of Rika just saying like, you've taught me this. And it's something that feels too hopeful. But then again, now, granted, this is all me coming off of never seeing anything Higurashi. I'm still wondering if they do break through and nothing bad happens, what would happen in the second court? Because every time we reset, we go back to this festival and who's going to be cursed? But at the same time, what if we break through, and what if we get some sort of like checkpoint or something that's after the festival? And what if that curse goes past the festival? Like, because no one got cursed that year, does that mean something even worse is going to happen? There's a lot of potential here, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if it ends badly. But it feels so perfect that it can end badly, and that's why I'm equally saying something good or bad could happen, and I honestly don't know what. The voice actors were incredible. The voice actors have been incredible in Higurashi when they cried go ever since the first episode, but the passion from the village elders to the young kids just fighting for their friend and fighting for their life, it just felt like real problems. It didn't feel like actors reading off a script. It felt like this was a group of people scared for their friend's life and a group of people scared of going up against an old hag, and they honestly all hit it out of the park. I wouldn't say one was better than the other. Without a doubt, I think one of the strongest episodes in this arc, in my honest opinion. Maybe that won't be the most popular opinion, I don't know. I don't really look up opinions before I post my reviews, but I just feel like it's such an emotionally engaging episode that may not have shocked us with death or gore, but honestly shocked me with compelling dialogue. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below, your favorite moment, and where do you think it might go next week. If you enjoyed the video, of course, leave a like, share, your support, hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.